magic is real. Literally, like in movies, except literally real.
So, no one can find Kim there.
Is magic real? Is that even possible? Is that actually really how it goes? I mean, this is a TV show talking about movies, talking about magic being real. Is that a possibility? Let's check.
Yo, what's happening, guys? What is happening? Fake truth here. Fake truth here. Things seem to be functioning a little better. I got this time lapse from today, and this is basically I don't know, from noon on, basically. You can get a pretty clear picture of what's moving through the sky. I mean, because it's just really hard to tell when you're looking up. In the moment to see, like, you know, what you're looking at, where the clouds are headed. You can sort of guess at it, but it's a lot easier now to just kind of take a peek. So it's gonna be running in the background. Yeah, what do we want to check out? I mean, I always want to just double check the headlines to see what's going on there. Something State of the Union. Just more of this fake fighting that's going on. I mean, there's just literally no way this is real. I mean, what's that quote? I always think of the politics is like acting for ugly people or something. Right. And so apparently he caved. I don't know. I didn't even look at any of this. Under pressure from House Speaker. So apparently he's not doing the speech. Blaming it on her. No viable alternative. I mean, I guess. There's no way. There's no way this fight is real. But the shutdown is gonna, I don't know, it's heading towards something. You can definitely tell it. Right, it's just more wall nonsense. Seems to be what everybody's got going down. It's Trump and Pelosi. Somehow they become these like great adversaries. I mean, I guess ever since the election. Does make sense. It's so boring though. I don't know. It's so boring for me. At this point, I used to watch this stuff like crazy. I would especially during the election, watched all the channels all the time, and it was definitely like pounding some propaganda in a serious way. But I mean that's always sort of my method. Like, right? I'm going to show you some examples of stuff, but of like TV shows and other things like that. But I've definitely watched an insane amount of TV, and you know, also done a fair amount of research myself. But right, trying to just get my spin on it. Alright, there's no way this is real. Anyways, let's get away from that. It's boring. I mean, it was pretty cold today. I mean, there's been a lot of things in the news about crazy cold temperatures all throughout Europe and everything. Crazy snow going on in Austria, and you know, cold snaps all through Canada. It's been like insanely cold up there, and I mean, even here in LA, it's pretty cold. And we got, you know, today is just sort of this wispy kind of stuff. It's hard to tell exactly, you know, where this comes from. But you can see these layers. I mean, I'm always looking for sort of patterns, the patterns that seem out of the ordinary. And there's these lines here you see in a row. I mean, look at that. It just sort of pops out there. 3 lines there. And other sort of stuff you notice. I mean, other things are obviously trails from the airplanes, but there's this thing coming up. Right, see, there's an airplane going by, not leaving a trail, and then other times of the day you'll definitely see some trails. That's definitely the kind of thing you'll see. So, I mean, I guess this isn't technically news, but I mean, it was to me. I'm gonna pull this up here. Right, so I obviously am a sketchy fool using the voice changer. I also use like a bunch of pirated software and definitely never paid for Photoshop like ever in my whole life. I'm sorry, Adobe. And yeah, just I mean, we've definitely gone through many different versions of cracked whatever. And at this point, I mean, I thought I found a pretty stable version. But I get this pop-up on my actual desktop that says basically, yeah, your version of Adobe is not valid. This is not legit software. And I mean, this program's been working for years basically. It's an older version, and I just it works fine, so I didn't really update it. But I mean, I guess there's still Adobe Cloud somewhere on the system, and you assume that they're knowing and checking this information. But all of a sudden, I open it up and you get this pop-up. It's like your version is not valid. This is what is their non-genuine software? It's a pretty good term, right? Non-genuine software, and they're like, right? This is my favorite part. Will you get in trouble? Adobe provides these notifications to inform you that some or all of the software used on your computer is non-genuine and to offer you options, right? And they're obviously like, come get a subscription, because what else you gotta do? Gotta get them a subscription, because that's the only way Adobe works now. You gotta get it in their subscription. And I was just reading an article, because people are basically like getting out of Premiere because Adobe is just so goddamn annoying. And they're saying it's a shame because the software is good, but just having it be, I mean, it has to be connected to the internet all the time now, and so you're not able to work remote. I mean, I wouldn't really know because I never had the real version, but right, it was just sort of a trip to see that come up on my computer, right? This way, I mean, this is like the website that it links to. I guess I could get it to do it again. Right, but I sort of see this as definitely like a sign of things to come, because right, I don't know, there's going to be some sort of shift. I definitely feel like there's going to be some sort of internet ID in some form, and then there'll be a lot more, sort of risk in I guess doing a lot of the stuff that I've done, and probably a bunch of you've done, in pirating entertainment and software. Like, maybe that is not going to be really allowed anymore, and they're going to find out ways of tracking it, just like Adobe is tracking my, torrented version of, I guess that was InDesign, but I don't know. I mean, it's obviously has to head in that direction someplace where we're getting all these subscriptions and everything. There's basically no other option at this point. They're gonna have to just clamp down more on the internet, and I mean, obviously it's been ramping up for a super long time, and I just see, I mean, obviously this year and the rest of it just keeping going in this direction. It's just gonna keep going, just like these clouds. These are some wispy motherfuckers. Guess it was windy. All right, yeah. So today I wanted to. I've been I've been looking a bunch at this alternative history stuff. I mean, it is sort of like you fall from one community into the next, and you can go from the flat earthers straight on through to Nibiru, and the general sky watchers and uh, and so on and so forth. Right? It's a pretty big long list. I hope I'm not. I'm having video output issues. Buffering. This is brutal. Why is it not working? I guess I'll have to just upload it later. This whole YouTube thing is pretty. I don't know. Sometimes it works, and then other times it's just having some major issues. Yeah, but basically, yeah, Mudflood. That's what I wanted to get into because, I don't know, it's sort of fascinating. This idea that history or just our idea of everything that's in the books and everything about all that stuff that's like totally made up. That's just some story. Everything from Napoleon to the great composers, or maybe that they were real people. These things sort of happened in a sense, but that that it's all been distorted, and especially like the land. Like, who was that guy I was watching? Yeah, Static in the Attic. He seems like a pretty cool guy. His channel like just started, and he seems like he's crushing it. Yeah, but had a pretty interesting. I can show you this. Had a pretty interesting thesis about just the whole scene, and he has a series of videos. He's like pretty nervous because he just started making them, which I can totally understand. And basically gives this whole idea that the land masses were different. That somehow, like deep inside, there was some like massive explosions that split the earth apart and like added somehow to the landmass like greatly. Just want to see if I can here's a picture of California, and apparently like it was an island, and then there's all these maps of it being this giant island and connecting somehow to like Baja actually, and they call that Baja California, right? Even though it's in Mexico, and apparently that was all like one piece. But then they say all these maps are just like misread by the Spaniards, and they didn't like understand what's going on. But apparently there's a bunch of maps like that, showing California as an island like that, and a bunch of other stuff that's just distorted and different, and yeah, that's usually like most of these genres usually have some sort of like generic explanation of what it could be. Is it maybe just that they didn't have like computers and stuff, and they couldn't draw it exactly? And it's like old timey stuff, and that's usually what you would say. But yeah, but he's saying that it totally looked different, if not extremely recently. And this whole like Mudflood community is all about how there was some crazy like disaster that happened recently and exploded the whole world, and or at least in certain places, and didn't, it killed a bunch of people and like ruined the whole culture, but it didn't kill everybody. And then people were able to come back, and they I can't. Trying to just pull up this map. You have to download Google Earth. I guess I should do that. Oh, like America. Just like if you just look at the satellite map of America. Let's pull away here for a second. Where's the satellite, though? Yeah, there we go. Right, if you just look at a satellite map, I mean, the basic premise is that anytime you see this, like, heavy scarring and, like, outpouring, that this was actually movement of some massive flood and possibly, like, a growth in the planet. Because I've heard that from other people that there's, like the planet is actually, it used to be way smaller, and it's growing continuously, and it has, like, periods where it expands a lot quicker, and that's like, yeah, the flood and other sort of areas like that. Yeah, but for seeing, like, that's one of the big ones, like, here all through, Tartaria, and that's their whole thing, that there was, like, some in China, basically some other great civilization that went away, and these are all maps of Tartaria, and there's a bunch of old maps naming this place, but there's, like, no data about it. It's like been memory hold somehow. Except you can find these maps, and I guess this is of, I don't know, someplace. But it definitely says Tartaria there in the top. Right, China there is at the bottom. So, that was like the old Russia, and that's the Tartars. I guess, I mean, I've heard that before. Someplace. But his other main big one was that, yeah, it happened in America, and then that's what this huge scar is, like, down the center of the country, this big mess that's right here, right? And that's where the gold rush happened, because there was a bunch of, like, new soil and, like, land that it just, like, exploded out and filled in this whole area, right? And that, oh yeah, and this whole thing was that it happened in 1812. So, I mean, that instantly makes me think of the Tchaikovsky overture. And I mean, I'm gonna have to go back to it and listen to it again. And that's basically the premise. Like, go check out 1812, and there was big fires everywhere, or basically cover stories in every single country about just some crazy shit that went down, and how, yeah, like a big fire or some other thing, and how this, there's just no way that right, and there's no way that I don't know, he had something going on about the composers. I wasn't really buying that part of it. But there definitely is most of our culture coming from the 1800s, 1700s, and everything before, just being really hard to find. And, music as well, just being really, printed music, what didn't really come around until the 700s, and nothing even worth playing until the 1700s. Everything before is, I mean, there's definitely manuscripts and all that, but I don't know. Is that good enough a reason to say that all of history was faked or rewritten in some way? I'm not sure, but I definitely see what he's saying here with this. I mean, if you take the broad view, it's sort of like, right, green area, nice, and this is where, all of America was for a really long time. And then at some point, this great disaster happened. It just tore the whole continent in half, and just went all throughout it. So, and this is just the kind of disaster that, and I guess it all ties back into the fear porn theme. Like, that's just what we got going on here. Non-stop fear porn, no matter where you look. But I mean, I see what he's saying, and maybe that's what happened. Some giant explosion here, and there already was an old civilization, and people came to the coast and were able to get that back.
Who knows? Anything, right? Because magic is real. literally, like in movies, except literally real.
So, no one can find Kim there.
Yeah, so I mean, this is a fantastic show. The Magicians on Sci-Fi Channel. I guess it's in its third. Is this the third or the fourth season? One of those. One of those. I mean, and it's always been totally beautifully done as a show. I mean, because that's the thing. It's like you can see the deception and all of that and still enjoy it. That's what I'm saying. Still good work being done, basically. And I mean, it's a very well done show. Is all I'm saying. But right. Oh damn, I missed that part too. Right. Check this out. This is, just a series of screenshots that I did. I think that's going to be the best way to just take a look and talk about it for a second, because the show's obviously about magic. It's magicians, and I mean, you heard there in the quote there. It's very like realistic, where magic is real, like it's literally real in the modern world, and they do a pretty good job of making you feel like that. And this is just in the grand tradition of Harry Potter. It's definitely like a teen sort of thing, but in also the tradition of symbolism, definitely getting more realistic and powerful, right? So here's a couple different things in here, right? We see the eye patch, which is the queen. There's no time to explain what goes on in the show, but right, this eye patch, the one eye thing is definitely one of the oldest, like, I don't know, the internet Illuminati things, and you definitely see it all over album covers and all over pop culture, and it has very specific meaning, and has something to do with leadership. That's definitely one aspect to it, I think. And when she has to be king again, she puts the eye patch back on. And fascinating, the show episode especially. I mean, it's very similar to things I've been talking about here, where they've all been like memory hold basically with magic, and forgotten who they are and what their lives are, and been placed in like, so it's sort of like witness protection, but they're able to completely, like, at least they try to eradicate their memory, but they start to remember it again. And yeah, this is one of the main characters, and she's got the eye patch, right? She's got the eye patch. Let's keep this Tchaikovsky going. Why not? Right, and I don't know. This theme is, no. That's gonna actually be really distracting. Sorry. Um. Yeah. No. She's got her eye patch, and she's queen, and that's just trying to collect symbols, and this this is just a basic example. But this show is obviously, I mean, it's about magic, and it's definitely filled with symbols and symbolism. And so I thought, this was an interesting sequence, sort of mirroring reality. This girl's sort of, looking for something, and she sees this guy, asks him if, he knows where something's going on or whatever, and he lies, and she sees this tattoo on his arm, right? And then you see the star. How many points is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7-pointed star, right? So that's already pretty deeply meaningful right there, and it's got the keyhole in the middle, so very specific symbol, and I guess it's somehow it talks about it being what's the word, a secret society. That's what I'm trying to say. Totally getting distracted because apparently my settings are wrong, like their buffer is overloading. I'll have to watch this afterwards. Figuring it out. This, so that's just, yeah, I wanted to get to this next screen, because that, is that the, what about this one? right? Because then this girl is like trying to figure out what society is, and she goes on the internet and is like searching for symbols, and that's just, that's definitely, you can find tons of videos all over this website here called YouTube, talking about symbols and looking at websites, and right, these are all five-pointed stars. She goes in, and I think she finds something out through the symbol, and that's, that's sort of just pretty meaningful in itself. That, that's what I'm trying to talk about here. It's like they'll present you with ways of thinking and ways of like figuring stuff out that may or may not even be the most logical, or but it puts it in front of your brain, basically. That, like, that's what somebody would do in that situation. And then, anytime you think of somebody else or notice a celebrity or hear something on the news of somebody in that similar type of situation, you know what to think, and more importantly, like, they know what you're gonna think, because, yeah, you just have to lap up enough of this kind of stuff, and they basically tell you how to think about everything, or at least they show you the best way. And if you think a different way, you're going to get ostracized, because there's definitely millions of people watching and agreeing with, sort of the moralizing that's going on screen. So I think that's a pretty basic concept there. And so, but this is the other side of the coin. I mean, she definitely goes and searches on the internet and finds some research and understands the symbol, and it gets her farther in her journey. Maybe that is, at least that's definitely also an aspect. I think it's worth it. And here's just another frame. So this is just a handful of screens that I took where, where symbols or like, generic geometric shapes are prominently featured. So, what was that other one? This is the, right, they're in Fillory or whatever. This is the magical castle they're in, and I was seeing that in a lot of this guy's, like, Tartary ancient stuff, that there was some sort of, corollary here with this design, this diamond design that you see on the pillar. That's I mean, you would see that all over the place, in San Francisco and in Morocco and all over the world, basically, this sort of design. And then here you see it in the magical kingdom of Fillory that she gets transported to. And that they, definitely spent a bunch of time in the last season. So I'm sure they're gonna spend much more time there. But right, and then off, the more you look at it, the more you'll notice. You see the triangle sort of pointed roof here, or doorway or whatever. That's definitely there. And obviously this Masonic sort of tile work that's there on the ground, the black and the white, definitely, another huge element of this symbolism. And you see it in the library too. I mean, it's really all over the place. And so, that was definitely, and this is sort of the first episode of the season, and they're doing some establishing, but very big part of it was this symbolism and how it's different. I mean, there's sort of the hidden stuff, like the pillars that I'm noticing, but a bunch of the actual plot line was about symbols and that kind of stuff, which was sort of a trip. And before we run out of time, this was another one. I noticed she was one of the other main characters tried to kill herself, and then they have some like warning at the end of the episode with the suicide hotline, and that's obviously, that's that whole 13 Reasons Why discussion, like portraying stuff like suicide on TV is glorifying it and will get people to do it, and they're giving you the hotline or whatever. So, but it's interesting. This is not a hexagon. This is an octagon, right? That's surrounding both of her wrists. The shape that they decided to use, and I just found that pretty interesting. This box, and the magic is supposed to like have healed her wrists and fixed everything for her. So I just, why the octagon? That's the stop sign that has a bunch of other power too. What is it?